She was forced to marry a poor single dad unaware he is the richest man alive. She stood silently in front of the mirror, her hands trembling slightly, her reflection dressed in an expensive bridal outfit she never chose, her eyes heavy with confusion, fear, and disbelief, because today was not supposed to be her wedding day, not like this, not to a man she barely knew, not to a poor single father with a child clinging to his hand, and yet destiny had forced her into a moment she could not escape. Her family had decided everything without her consent, and now she was standing at the edge of a life she never imagined. Outside the small marriage hall, people whispered, some laughed quietly, others judged, because in their eyes she was too beautiful, too educated, too refined to be married to someone like him, a man wearing a simple suit, slightly worn, holding a little girl who looked around nervously, unaware of the storm surrounding her father, the man they called poor, the man no one respected, the man everyone underestimated. But what no one knew, not even she, was that this man was hiding something extraordinary, something beyond imagination, something that would change everything she believed about him, and about life itself. His name was Armand, and to the world, he was nothing more than a struggling single father, working small jobs, living in a modest house, never speaking too much, always calm, always distant, but behind those quiet eyes was a story no one knew, a secret empire built in silence, hidden from the world, protected with precision, a fortune so massive that even the richest families in the country could not compare. Yet he chose this life, chose to hide, chose to disappear into simplicity, because of a past that broke him, a betrayal that changed him, and a promise he made to himself, to never let greed touch his life again. And now fate had placed her in his path. The forced marriage. Her name was Eliza, a young woman raised in a strict household where tradition mattered more than dreams, where obedience was considered respect, and where refusal was not an option. When her father announced her marriage, she thought it was a joke, until she saw the groom's name, until she saw the quiet man standing in the corner with a child, until she realized there was no way out. I won't marry him, she had said, her voice shaking. But her mother's eyes were cold. You will. This marriage will solve our problems. What problems? She asked. Financial problems, her father replied bluntly. This man may be poor, but he accepted without demands. You will be safe with him. Safe. The word echoed in her mind like a cruel joke. Because nothing about this felt safe. The man she misjudged. Armand never spoke much during the ceremony. He simply stood there, calm, collected, holding his daughter's hand, occasionally glancing at Eliza with unreadable eyes. His daughter, a small girl named Aisha, looked at Eliza with curiosity, as if trying to understand why this stranger was suddenly her new mother. Eliza avoided eye contact. She felt trapped, betrayed, and humiliated. To her, Armand was just another poor man her family had dumped her onto. But what she didn't notice were the subtle details, the expensive watch hidden under his sleeve, the way the staff of the venue occasionally bowed their heads to him without realizing it, the way his phone silently lit up with urgent messages labeled from global business executives. But he ignored them, because today, he had chosen silence over power, a life she never expected. After the marriage, Eliza was taken to a modest house on the outskirts of the city, small, quiet, simple. It was nothing like her family's home. She stood in the living room, disbelief growing inside her. This is where you live. Armand nodded calmly. Yes. She frowned. How do you survive here? I manage, he replied. Aisha ran inside happily, placing her small bag on the sofa. Mama, I want juice. Eliza froze. Mama. She looked at Armand. Don't let her call me that. He looked at her quietly. She will in time. I'm not her mother, she snapped. Armand didn't argue. He simply nodded. Not yet. That, not yet, unsettled her more than anything else. The hidden life. Days passed, and Eliza began noticing strange things. People in expensive cars occasionally visited the house, always calling Armand, sir, before leaving quickly. Packages arrived daily, marked confidential. Phone calls would come late at night, and every time he answered, his tone would shift, calm but commanding, a voice that did not belong to a poor man. But every time she asked, he simply said, work. One evening, she followed him outside. He stood in the garden speaking on the phone. I don't care what the board decided, he said firmly. I said delay the acquisition, and it will be delayed. A pause. Yes, I am aware of the global impact. Another pause. Then he said something that froze her completely. No one moves my assets without my permission. She stepped back. Assets. Board. Acquisition. This was not the language of a poor man. The truth begins to crack. The next morning, curiosity pushed her to search online. She typed his name. Nothing. No social media. No records. No trace. Strange. She tried again, adding keywords. Still nothing. But just as she was about to close the laptop, Aisha ran into the room, knocking over a folder. Documents spilled out. Eliza picked them up, confused. And then she saw it. A document stamped with global financial authority seals, property ownership papers across multiple countries, corporate registrations, billion-dollar valuations. Her hands froze. This can't be real, she whispered. Behind her, a voice spoke calmly. It is. She turned. Armand stood there, quiet, unshaken, watching her. The revelation. You're rich, she asked, struggling to process it. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked into the room, picked up the documents, and placed them back into the folder. I never said I wasn't, he said. You let everyone think you're poor. I needed it that way, he replied. Her mind was spinning. Why? His eyes darkened slightly, because when people see money, they see opportunity, not truth. She stepped back. So everything, this house, this life. A choice, he interrupted. A lie, she whispered. A shield, he corrected. Silence filled the room. Aisha hugged her father's leg, unaware of the storm. Eliza looked at him differently now, confusion mixing with anger, curiosity, and something she didn't understand yet. The man behind the mask. Armand finally sat down, tired, as if the weight of the secret had grown too heavy. I was once the richest man in the country, he said quietly. Eliza blinked, stunned. But I lost everything, or rather, I gave it up. Why? Because power attracts enemies, he said, and I had someone I needed to protect. He looked at Aisha. My daughter. Eliza stayed silent. I changed my identity, removed myself from the system, built a simpler life. No attention, no danger. She whispered, and me. He looked at her. That was never part of the plan. The words hit her harder than she expected. The emotional shift. Days turned into weeks. Eliza began seeing Armand differently. Not as a poor man. Not as a mysterious stranger. But as someone carrying pain too heavy for words. He was gentle with his daughter, always patient, always present. He never raised his voice, never demanded respect, never showed ego. And slowly, something inside Eliza shifted. One evening, she watched him fix Aisha's broken toy, sitting on the floor like an ordinary father, smiling softly when the toy finally worked. She realized something strange. He didn't act like a rich man pretending to be poor. He acted like a broken man trying to live peacefully. The outside threat. But peace never lasts. One night, black cars arrived outside the house. Men in suits stepped out. Armand immediately became alert. Eliza noticed the change in his posture instantly. These people? She asked. He stood up slowly. Stay inside. No, she said, surprising even herself. I'm your wife. I'm not staying out of this. He looked at her for a long moment. Then nodded. For the first time, he didn't push her away. The truth unfolds. The men approached. One of them spoke. Sir, the board wants you back. The empire is collapsing without you. Armand replied calmly. I told you, I am not returning. Then everything you built will fall. He smiled faintly, then let it fall. Eliza stared at him. You would give up everything. She whispered. He looked at her. I already did once. A pause. This life is the only thing I didn't want to lose. Her breath caught. For the first time, she understood. She wasn't part of a forced marriage anymore. She was part of a choice he never expected to make again. Conclusion. That night, everything changed. Not because his secret was revealed, but because she finally saw him. Not as poor, not as rich, but as a man who had everything, lost it, rebuilt himself, and still chose simplicity over power. And in that silence, Eliza realized something deeper. Sometimes the richest people are not those who own the world, but those who abandon it to protect what truly matters.